Hey, Husker fans, this is Sam McKewon with the Omaha World-Herald, Big Red Today, and Omaha.com, and we're bringing back the Three Keys video that we used to do at the Hawks Championship Center. I know everybody likes when I do my three short fingers for the keys. So we used to do these at the Hawks Championship Center, but of course, because of COVID, I have to do it, in my house. So here we go with the Three Keys. Nebraska plays Illinois this week. They're a 15.5-point favorite. They haven't been a big favorite like that in quite some time, to be very honest with you. It's been a couple of years. So this is one of these games where obviously the Vegas pundits think Nebraska should be able to, breathe easy in the fourth quarter. Well, maybe that's how it'll go. Maybe not. I think Illinois has some challenging aspects to it, especially on its offense. They can do just about anything because they have a bunch of different kinds of quarterbacks, and they've got a pretty good collection of receivers there. Josh Imatorbhebhe, Brian Hightower, who some Husker fans might remember worked out at one of the Friday Night Lights camps here. They got a nice tight end in Daniel Barker too, and so they've got some players, decent running backs. The quarterback position is an issue at Illinois, and that's where we are going to start our first key. Key number one, whoever the quarterback is, whether it's Isaiah Williams or Karan Taylor or Brandon Peters or even Matt Robinson, because all four of them have played, Nebraska has to get after that guy, and they've got to get after. They have to pressure that guy, whether it's Williams, who's a runner, get attacking him at the mesh point, trying to get him to make a mistake, or it's Peters, who's more of a thrower, getting after him and getting in his face and trying to force one or two errors during the course of the game. I think it's enormously important that Nebraska's defense get all over Illinois early, because they're probably going to be reintegrating Peters, who's been out for 3 weeks because of the COVID protocol. They're probably going to try to get him going because Isaiah Williams essentially functions as a wildcat quarterback. He was 7 of 21 last week. Sometimes he throws the ball from somewhere near his hip. So he is not what I would describe as a guy that's going to be able to throw you to a victory. He's got to have to run it, and I don't know that Nebraska's defense is going to give up some of the plays that Rutgers did last week when Rutgers lost 23-20 to Illinois. And so they've got to get after that quarterback. Do you think you're going to see Peters? I think they're going to rattle him early, get after him, try to force a turnover, try to get on top of Illinois' offense early. If Illinois can kind of get a rhythm, and they can get their tempo going and they can run the football, Nebraska's offense is going to be in the tough spot of having to trade and create more big plays. And I'll be honest with you, they did it last year at Illinois. They gained about 700 yards, but some of the guys that did that are no longer here. Maurice Washington isn't here. J.D. Spielman isn't here. It's not going to be easy for some of the players who are left behind to do some of the things that Washington and Spielman were doing. And so the offense is kind of hitting a reset button. So the defense has to do what it can do. Illinois does not have a great offense, especially in the red zone. They struggle. I think over the course of this season, they've scored 7, 24. I cannot remember what they scored in their third game, 14 against Minnesota, which is not great, and 23 against Rutgers. This is a team that Nebraska's defense has to put the clamps on. They've got some talent, but Nebraska's defense has to do the job. Number 2. Take care of the football. Nebraska beat Illinois 42-38 last year. It wasn't nearly that close if Nebraska does not turn the ball over again and again and again. Lovie Smith is Illinois' coach, and I'm a Chicago Bears fan, so I know Lovie Smith's work from when he was the Bears coach. And there's 2 things that are true about him. First of all, it's always been this way with the quarterbacks. Never can find one. Second of all is they take the ball away really, really well. They force a lot of turnovers. They know how to punch the ball out. They're good at doing that. They will sacrifice a few yards in order to try to do that. And they tend to play, now they may not do this against Nebraska, but they tend to play a zone coverage scheme that gives their defensive backs an opportunity to step in front of one. They're not a heavy man team, or they haven't been generally. And so they'll try to get one from you. They'll try to step in front of a pass and get an interception that way. And, of course, they're really good at forcing fumbles. That's just something Illinois is good at. Nebraska must take care of the ball. And, honestly, I don't know that they're going to do that. I think you have to be straightforward with the fact that Nebraska does struggle to hold on to the football, whether it's interceptions or it's fumbles. They're averaging about 1.5 turnovers a game. All of those to this point have come from the quarterbacks. So the fumbles and then the interceptions against Northwestern, and then McCaffrey's interception / sort of fumble up in the middle of the air against Penn State. And so definitely Illinois is going to know going into the game, we're going to try to do the things that get these quarterbacks off schedule and get them to make mistakes. And if Nebraska is able to avoid making that turnover mistake, then I think they're going to win the game. They could win it by 2 or 3 touchdowns. They could win it fairly handily. If they're not able to avoid that, this is going to be a barn burner probably till the end, because Illinois does a good job of taking advantage of turnovers and scoring off of those. That's part of why they were able to beat Rutgers. And so that's part of what Illinois does. It's part of their weaponry. If you can avoid giving the ball to them, they have a hard time winning the football game. The third key in this game, so the third one, is I think Nebraska really has to try to figure out a way to get more weapons involved, especially in the short passing game and in the run game. Definitely Nebraska needs to hit some big shots. I think that's important. You can't just magically create those. You either have to do it, schematically and really go after a team and be really aggressive, or you've got to have the players who can do it. But I think the thing that Nebraska has to get better at is being able to hand the ball off to the running back, which could be Dietrich Mills, it could be Wendell Robinson, it could be whoever, and having that running back gain more than 4 yards a carry. And that's part of the issue right now, is that you want to be able to put a team in a situation where if they decide they're going to get really aggressive in coverage, you either need to be able to throw it over them, which Nebraska's struggled a little bit doing, or you have to be able to crease a run. Because if they're playing really aggressive and their safeties are up, that's an opportunity to either throw it over them, or if you block it just right, they're not going to have a lot of guys in the back end. So I think Nebraska's got to figure out a way to pop a couple of big runs, and that might either be through Luke McCaffrey, who I think certainly could do that, but you also want to be able to do it with a Wandale or with a Dietrich Mills, and to be able to hit something, whether it's on a trap or a sweep, but just some big run that backs Illinois off a little bit, and then you can kind of get into this, get into the kind of offense that you want to get into. So I'll be curious to see if Nebraska is able to pop some of those. I actually think that the line that they have on the field is probably a pretty good run blocking line. I think Bryce Bennert's a physical dude. I think Ethan Piper is very athletic and can knock people back and get into their gills and do that pretty well. I think pass blocking wise, that's a work in progress, especially when you're moving Farniak from tackle to guard, and Benart's new out there and Piper's new, and so there's some pieces moving. But I think from a run blocking perspective, yeah, they can plow some earth. They've got to be able to get some big creases for a guy like Mills or Robinson or another running back, because you're not going to be able to eat very well if your running backs are only averaging 2 or 3 yards a carry. That puts your quarterback run game in play. And at that point, your quarterback's probably going to gain more yards, but they're also going to put themselves at risk of injury and turnover. And we'll just have to see what happens. I think, again, get after Illinois' quarterback. Whoever it is, be aggressive. Do not let Illinois eat 6 minutes off the clock and get a field goal. Get after them. Bend, don't break is fine. You obviously want to be that way in the red zone, but you have to be aggressive too against this team. Get them off the field, get your offense on the field, get a big lead early if you can, avoid the turnovers, and then finally hit some big runs, hit some runs along the way. We'll see if they do that. I think Nebraska is going to win this game, but it may not be easy, especially depending on how that first half goes. If Illinois can kind of keep it at their tempo, or if they can, because they're probably going to slow it down a little bit and just kind of run the football if they can. If they get a couple of turnovers, all bets are off. This is a big game for Nebraska to win. This is the kind of game you don't want to lose. You really want to win it. And I think Nebraska will, but those 3 keys will help. All right, Husker fans. Well, follow all of our coverage this weekend at omaha.com, in the Omaha World-Herald, or Big Red Today. We'll have it all there, all the coverage from Nebraska's game against Illinois this Saturday.